The most common, however, are the alfalfa, which is a favorite for most people, which is a very small seed. And how many of you do not know how to make sprouts, have never made sprouts? Then I'll make a short description. You take a jar, you put about 1 centimeter of alfalfa sprouts on the bottom. You add water, fill the jar with water. You let them soak for about 12 to 20 hours. You put some kind of screening on the mouth of the jar, such as mosquito netting, and then elastic band, and you turn it over and you let the water come out, but the seeds will remain in. Then you wash these seeds 3 times. You put in water and you empty it. Then you leave it upside down so that the water drains out. And then from that day on, after the first 20 hours, which you allow it to soak, we should rinse them twice a day, or if it's very hot, 3 times a day, putting water in 3 times at least and emptying it. And so that they're churned about by the movement of the water without it being very forceful and damaging them. And then we empty out the water and we leave it upside down for the water to be drained out. Gradually these begin to grow, and after about 7 days they become about this long, and the alfalfa, we allow it to obtain the leaves to become green. We leave them in not in direct sunlight, but near light, so that they can obtain the chlorophyll. And they're ready to eat. We put them in a refrigerator and we eat them raw with salad or by themselves or in a sandwich, any way that we like. The same can be done with wheat. Wheat sprouts are also a favorite with a lot of people, but the wheat sprout takes only about 2 or 3 days, and we don't allow it to grow so much. We wait just for that white root to show its face out from the grain, and the moment we see that white sprout, we put it in the refrigerator and we start eating it. If you allow it to grow too much, the root system becomes a bit difficult to chew and to digest. It can be eaten, of course, but it's sweetest and most nutritious when that root just starts coming out. Then we have the mung beans, which are also a favorite, and it's what you eat when you eat Chinese food, those long bean sprouts in Chinese food. And they're green, usually green, but there are also other varieties. And they take about 3 to 5 days to develop, depending on the temperature. The hotter it is, the more rapidly they develop themselves. The process is the same with all of them. We let them soak for 8 to 20 hours, and then we rinse them daily, morning and evening, and clean them, waiting for them to develop. Once they're developed, we put them in the refrigerator, and we eat them in the way that we like. A very powerful source of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, proteins. Very important source of nutrients. Now, what are the foods that we would like to avoid? We suggest, both from the point of view of health, but also from the point of view of spiritual development, that we avoid as much as possible meat, poultry, and fish. Some people would add eggs. That's up to you. Now, the reason for the meat is that it is what we consider a rajasic type of food, a food which creates a hyperactivity of the nervous system and aggressive instincts in the person that eats them. On the other hand, from the health point of view, there are a lot of toxins. Meat today is grown with antibiotics, with hormones, and all of these hormones and antibiotics which are fed into these animals is stored up in their muscles and then eaten by us and accumulates in our body. There are also a number of theories that man is not a carnivorous being, according to the formation of his teeth, according to the length of his intestines and certain enzymes which are missing from his digestive system, that he was not born to be a carnivore. Of course, he has become one, sure enough. From there on, everyone will have to make their own choice. At Harmonic Israel, we have no rules on these kinds of things. We just offer you information and you choose for yourselves. We'll discuss this point again next year when we discuss our diet in relationship to our meditation. Now we're just talking about health. Next year when we talk about meditation, we'll approach diet from another point of view. We would also like to avoid what we call empty calories. Empty calories are white sugar and empty carbohydrates, white flour and white rice, in which we have removed from the sugar and from the flour and from the rice the outer coverings which contain various vitamins and minerals which are essential for the proper absorption and the proper usage of those sugar and carbohydrate substances. What happens when we eat large quantities of white rice, white sugar, and white flour? Because we are not taking in those vitamins and minerals with those substances, it has to take them from the body. And our body becomes gradually depleted, especially in vitamin B and certain minerals. And so the nervous system is weakened. That is, the direct result is on the nervous system. And we have seen in studies, in scientific studies, that children with hyperactivity, or adolescents in reformatory schools, when the amount of sugar intake was lessened and when they were given dosages of vitamin B, their behavior improved considerably. And hyperactive children became much more relaxed when the amount of sugar, empty sugar, that they were taking in was reduced. So we want to avoid white sugar. We can replace it with honey, with molasses, and we have some substances here in the Mediterranean which are not known perhaps in the West. The petemezi, the syrup which is made from the grapes, or the harapomelo, which is made from the carob bean. These are all direct sources of sweetness, because all of nature loves sweet things. But we have not removed the basic vitamins and minerals which are necessary for the proper usage. In general, however, it's not good to take large quantities of sugar. It's better to take it through fruit or dried fruits. We can get the calories which we need. Often people get into a vicious circle with easy energy. Sugar is easy energy, and chocolates are easy energy. And what happens is that we get this dose of energy which lasts about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then we're down again, and we need our second dose and our third dose. And we get addicted. It's an addictive process. An example would be that burning sugar is like burning a piece of paper. It gives you a lot of flame, but then it's gone after a few minutes. And burning grains, taking our sugar from grains and beans, which have carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates are gradually transformed into sugar through our liver and through our bloodstream, in our bloodstream. It's like burning a log, which has a lesser flame, but lasts for a longer period of time. That is, a meal with grains gives us a supply of sugar for 4 to 5 hours, whereas a candy bar gives us for about 15 minutes. So we want to, if we find that we're caught up into that cycle, we may want to begin to start eating more grains and less sweets. We also want to avoid packaged and canned foods, which we call tamasic foods, foods which are lacking in energy. Through the great deal of processing, we have taken the prana, the vital energy, out of these. If we go to a market and we see carrots, that if we pick them up, they go like this, we're not going to buy them, because it's very obvious that that carrot or that lettuce doesn't have any energy in it anymore. The calorie content is the same. The mineral content will be the same, but the energy content is not the same. So our senses do not allow us to buy that carrot or that piece of lettuce, because we're not looking only for vitamins and minerals and carbohydrates and proteins. We're looking also for energy. And in a way, we absorb the energy body of the food that we eat. We're absorbing its physical body, but we're also absorbing its energy body. And also from the point of enzymes, there are about 500 functions in the body which take place through enzymes. And one of them is digesting. And another of them is protecting the body from foreign bodies. That is, the immune system works through enzymes. Enzymes eat those foreign substances which come into the body, just as it eats the food that we put into our body. So a person who eats only cooked foods or processed foods and doesn't eat enough live food is not taking enzymes in with his food, and so he has to use the enzymes which are in his body. And that caused the enzyme content to become depleted and his immune system to become weakened. So a person who eats more live food has a higher enzyme content and a more powerful immune system. One of the first things that we suggest to persons who have problems with cancerous cells, with any kind of weak immune situation, is to eat exclusively raw foods for a period of time. And so our grains we would not cook, but we would turn them into sprouts. And as much as possible eating live raw food. So it's in a country like Greece, it's just not necessary to eat packaged or canned foods. I mean, we have an abundant supply of fresh, live foods all year long. It's a blessed country from that point of view. So there's really no need for that. The other thing that we would like to avoid are the stimulants of the nervous system, such as coffee, tea, alcohol, and cigarettes. All of these stimulate the nervous system in ways in which we don't realize after a period of time, because our body becomes used to them. It loses its sensitivity. If anyone remembers the first time he smoked a cigarette, it wasn't pleasant. The first time he may have drank an alcoholic beverage, it probably wasn't pleasant, because the body reacted. It didn't want that substance. But with the repetition, the body became desensitized and doesn't react anymore. I remember the first time when I returned to the States some years ago and had a few cups of coffee with the family after about 10 years of not having had a cup of coffee. I just felt my blood soaring through my veins, and I had forgotten. I mean, my body had become highly sensitized again from the state in which it was before, and I was really surprised by the effect of this relatively harmless substance. At least it was harmless to me at the time that I was drinking it regularly. How powerful it was. We don't realize how powerful these substances are, because our body has, fortunately and unfortunately, the ability to adapt. That's fortunate for our ability to function, unfortunate because then we can get quite off the path. And that way, we mentioned last week how physical weaknesses are a blessing from the point of spiritual evolution, because they prevent us from being able to get very far away from the laws of nature. Then we come to the subject of drugs and tranquilizers and painkillers and these kinds of substances, which also deaden and weaken the nervous system, and of course do not solve problems. They only cover up problems, and they just make us imagine that the problems don't exist, which is an obstacle also from the point of view that we don't have any more the initiative to look at the problem and try to heal it.